Welcome everybody to Blender.Today Live 69. Nice. We're gonna be grown-ups or make jokes about it. Alright, let's get to it. It's the week. The week is here. The week of the Blender 2.80 release candidate. It's coming this Thursday. Yes, this Thursday is happening for reals. It means that now you'll be like, now in a few days you're gonna be able to just get it. Hopefully we're gonna try and put it also on Steam so it's easier for you to get and to try, because it should be like the last time to put it, like to report all the bugs, to get let's do our best to try and get a bug-free release. Seeing the developers here like hanging out and talking about the issues out there, it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be easy, but if we all help out, I think it's gonna be okay. Is everything okay? How are you, everybody here? Isn't everything fine? Have you been using Blender a lot lately? I know there's a lot of people making even like new tutorials. I've seen some new a bit of everything coming out, including Eevee stuff, including the new cycle stuff, and we're going to talk about a few of those changes and also some of the community updates. What is the one of them? It's the Blender conference is happening soonish. It's gonna be huge this time because we are moving to a new place, to a new venue, but also because of the 2.80 release, it's going to be a very special one. So if you're coming or if you're thinking about coming, also know that you can present, you can have a presentation. This is a community event for everybody to hang out and talk and share what they're doing. So there is a call for participation, which already has been going on for a few weeks, but the thing that I think we didn't mention, we didn't make it official, but something really nice about this year is that there will be not only the big theater for the big talks, but also there will be a small theater for like maybe panels, discussions, and also the spotlight theater, which is basically just this a place for you to show Blender, use Blender. If you're not really good at talking and you're not a big fan of talking, you can just sit there and paint, or I don't know, use Blender and people will hang out. So it's not like for people to be following a tutorial, you don't have to explain everything, but more like hanging out. So is this going to be the final release or just the final test release? Come on. Okay. Benjamin is asking, so is the release candidate gonna be the final release or just the final test release? Let's say it's the final release, because otherwise people are not gonna test it. So let's say, you know, you and me, you've been here for a while, you've been in Blender.Today live, you know how it goes. So let's say that this is the final release, so people can use it and test it and submit bugs and reports and everything. We should try to make things more you know, easy for new people coming over. So that's it for the Blender conference. There is also another thing that I would like to mention, is a discussion going on in the Dev Talk forums, the Blender developer forums. So you know, there is the Google Summit of Code going on. There's many areas of the Google Summit of Code, but also there is development that is happening outside of the Summit of Code with the regular Blender stuff happening. There is the Sculpt improvements by Pablo Vazquez, which is coming actually next in a few weeks, 1-2 weeks, coming to the Blender studio for a few days. Just hang out, wink wink. Then the other big thing that was happening is what I mentioned last week about the snapping tools and the precision modeling, which is also pretty big. I know there's a lot of people excited about it, and the developer that it now got a grant, by the way, if I mentioned it last week. We talked about the Blender Development Fund. In the grants page, there is the mention about Germano Cavalcante, working on the snapping tools and the precision modeling. So he made a thread actually back in February before he even got this grant about what would be nice to fix about snapping tools. So feel free to go there and share and discuss what you think, like, you know, give feedback to the developers. So it's very nice just to see him so involved, like he's replying constantly, and there's people making proposals and, you know, getting excited about it. This is how it evolves, you know. Blender is made by you. Next, the Blender, what else? The meeting notes are still not being not fully updated. Here there has been about 100 bugs been fixed since last week, plus there is the fixes from the previous week that I mentioned, which were like 120 something bugs. So yes, plenty. I have a bunch of a few fixes. I have a few new stuff I can show you here. It's not so much, but that will give me more time to focus on the questions, which you can ask on Blender.Today. Thanks to Lapis C, the user. He's always around, and now there's 24 questions. So make sure you ask yours so we can get to him. All right, let's see. There is a new feature. Yes, it's an improvement. It's not a new feature. We are in UV freeze, but it was a fix more than a feature actually. So if you've been using the matte caps in Blender 2.8, the new awesome custom even matte caps, you maybe noticed that they so okay, now here in rendering, I'm not used to the headers here in the bottom, but luckily we can change that in the user preferences. So in the user preferences, small sidetrack, I can go to the interface and then header position top. There you go. So that way you're forcing every editor, when you open a blend file from another user, for example, you're forcing it always to be in the top or the bottom or default, which is going to be the one you load from your from the blend file itself. So okay, with that little sidetrack, I wanted to go to the workbench, because in the workbench is where you can enable matte caps. But now you may notice there is you may probably didn't know that. I didn't even know this wasn't working until it was added last week. Texture, you can now see texture plus matte caps, which is I didn't think about it before, right? At first it was like, why would you need that? But actually there is many reasons to that it can be useful. Like, for example, if you're doing cartoon shading or cell shading and you want to paint your textures, you want to see the textures on top of your matte cap, that's pretty nice. Then there are many reasons why would you want it. I mean, there's always the why not. So yes, let's see the this is the one thing that was added. There's another fix that it's had to do with the texture painting. So when you're texture painting, there used to be an error, an artifact basically, that the texture was being multiplied on top of whatever you had in front, even in the workbench. So it wasn't really, you wouldn't get 100% when you were painting on. Now that has been fixed, so that is something that you can see actually here. There is a nice image with where you can see the effect. Now whatever, even if you're in texture view, when you're painting over, it's always gonna be 100%. What you see is gonna use the shading from the workbench, so it's like forcing the workbench. All right, workbench is starting to look. How it is starting? It's been a year for the workbench engine. Actually, a bit more than a year for workbench engine. Let's move on to the next fixes, and actually two changes that happened in the key map department. One of them is a tiny one. So when you're weight painting, there is this option up here that lets you change to either select the masks or the vertices in when you're in weight painting. This shortcut, it's V for vertex, so you can switch it on and off. So basically you can turn on the vertex masking. This option was only available in the weight paint mode, but now you can also do it in vertex paint, so you can mask out when you're painting the vertices. Then what else? The other change, vertex paint. Oh, the vertex paint, when you're vertex painting, since we're here, when you're vertex painting, you can press Control to temporarily switch the colors. So let's see if I go to, for example, if I enable the top bar, or I can have it here in here, the tool. So for example, let's say I'm painting here. If you hold Control, you should be able to change it. So let's see. You see, with the red. For example, I have a red, and my first primary color is red, and my secondary color is this kind of blue. If I click or I just paint, then I will be painting with the primary color, with red. But I can quickly switch to the other color, the secondary color, with Control. So you hit Control and then just paint, and that way you can switch between one and the other pretty easily. Very nice. I like that one. That's pretty much it. That's an easy one. With X you can also switch, by the way, just since we're showing this feature. With X you can flip them, you can change them. This should have the other icon, not the circular icon. This looks like a refresh icon. It should have the other one, the one that has the arrow flipping, I think. The one that we have in the color ramps, I think, right? Since we're here. So if I add ramp, oh, we don't have it anymore. The one for flipping. Anyway, it's an arrow with two pointies, two ends. How's everything going? What is the hardware requirements for VFX? It's funny that you ask, because today I worked on the requirements. So if you search for Blender requirements, you Google for it, or if you DuckDuckGo for it, you will get here, requirements.blender.org. And I updated this page today. The values here updated for Blender 2.8, and there is a previous version, because now we are assuming that now you're using 2.8 from now on. So we are updating the whole Blender website, and little by little, there are many areas that are still behind. But for example, today I updated this list. I moved everything previous version, and here you can see the minimum requirements. Also the recommended, and is optimal. So optimal is like, it should, yeah, it's like optimal. It's like, I mean, we can have like 64-bit or 32 gig or more. 16 gig of RAM is a huge amount. Basically, whatever, this value should be like, okay, whatever you can afford, just throw it in there. And that's it. And also making it clear, because not a lot of people know that you can get Blender on a USB and just share it around. It doesn't have to be installed, doesn't need to be installed always. So my computer is not recommended. Oh, well, but you mean you can always be here. I think we should at this point always require Full HD, because in 720p you can't really fit much, unfortunately. But yeah, we shouldn't leave people out. Oops, I dropped a little glass, but everything is okay. The next update is regarding the community. So this one is a fix actually made by the community. It's here. It's a draw markers on top of the draw cache on top of the marker areas, and it's a small fix. Basically, the cache was being covered by the markers area. So now it's a bug basically, but so now it draws on top, and the fix, I made it. I show it here because it was made by the community. Alessio Monti, the Sopra, made this patch, which it actually was reported by another user of the community, Michael Soluyanov, in Dev Talk. And I liked it because it's someone from the community in Dev Talk and someone else fixing it from the community. And if you look at the code, it's really just basically moving from one place to the other, the place where it draws the cache. So it's not, doesn't need like, you know, like a 5 PhDs to do this. So it's a nice example of how, hey, it could be, you know, things that can be fixed by the community, for the community, and is now part of Blender 2.8. Next question. Let's see. Not question. No, it's not a question. A fix. Then I think everything is there. There is a few big changes regarding the make instances. Not changes, but fixes. There has been like a complete rewrite on how the make instances works for collections. So if you had issues with that, you should check out. You should update because that has been fixed. Then let's see what else. I think we're done for now. So early. Yes, let's get to the questions. Maybe we can get some more time to hang out. I'm gonna put here, I have the chat window here. I'm gonna put it, you know, I have you guys here, so I'm gonna put it here next to me so I can look at your questions and maybe answer some live and maybe chat a bit more because we have time now. Well, actually, no, I don't have time. I had to work on Blender 2.8 website, but it's good to do this. First question by Zed Corp. I should have some kind of music when I switch to the question part. You know, like some kind of what could it be? You know, like the Mario pipe. Ring. You know, we switch to another section. This section is Zed Corp asks, "Hey, will we ever be able to display waveforms in the timeline? Having to use the sequencer is not helpful, especially it doesn't show keyframes. Please reconsider." The sequencer should show. No, it does. No, it doesn't show keyframes unless you're keyframing the audio. But yes, that's a good note. There has been proposals about showing that, and I bet this would be a topic to address in the Animation 2020 project, which is supposed to cover a bunch of the character animation pipeline. And character animation also involves lip sync, you know, like having your audio so you can animate to it. And this has been talked about in the past. There is even a patch about having it, about having in the graph editor or some of the background. But there is also the other side, is like, why not we fix the sequencer for it, and then maybe we can show the keyframes in the sequencer and just have it maybe improve one side or the other. But I think in this case for the animation it makes sense. Did you know that Blender in 2.4 used to have an audio editor? There was an editor called audio. Yes, those were the days. Let's continue. Hello, Pablo. What's going to be the difference between 2.80 and 2.81? The fixes, development power. I don't know. So many. I mean, besides the sculpt and hopefully the asset engine or the library and the static overrides. But in general, I think the difference we don't know yet, because the code side, yeah, few changes we know, but the actual like impact that a 2.8 is going to have in the industry, in Blender, in the support that Blender is getting, I think it's going to be much more than what we know. Show us the old audio editor. Okay, I can show you. Okay, next question. What will it cost to bring back the render animation button and the render image button? What it cost? There is no money cost to that. I mean, making an add-on is literally no time. I mean, I could make it even now while we are chatting. There's the in the scripting section, you have templates where you can have an add-on, for example, for add an object. And in the add object, I think it adds it to a panel. Yeah, it adds it to, no, it adds the operator, but not the panel. View 3D menu mesh. Yeah, you can basically add it to a panel very easily. That would be a nice video to make, but it wouldn't take much time. There is this rule that operators shouldn't be part of the properties because it's a properties panel, right? But there are exceptions for the, for example, baking area. I already mentioned this last week, but yeah, doing it live. Yes. All right, next question, and let's see if I can find Blender Audio Editor 2.4. How to edit audio in Blender. Somebody made a tutorial about that. Now it has to be a Blender 2.4 screenshot. So, and most of the screenshots here in 2.5 here. No, I don't think I'm gonna find it, but it's funny actually. Blender 2.4 editors, maybe. Okay, I will go to the questions, so people are gonna, if I don't manage to answer all, gonna hate me. Lapisi, hey Pablo, is the Blender team able to snap half of all 2.7 installations out of existence with a single release? What? Is the Blender team able to snap half of 2.7 installations out of existence? What do you mean snap half of them? Like get rid of them with a single release? I don't think, I think there's a lot of people still using 2.7, productions going on with 2.7. They are gonna need support. That's why the 2.7.9 branch is still being updated with small fixes here and there, and it's been updated even since the last 2.7.9 release, which was in March last year, if I'm not wrong. So it's been over a year that support that the 2.7 branch has had. Now all efforts go to 2.8. Thanos Blender. We're in the end game now. Dead Dragon says, why does the tabs doesn't have icons? You told me that they will get icons. Where are the icons? They haven't been added yet. There has been other priorities. I'm sorry, but yeah, they're not added yet. Yes, Random says, hi Pablo, I know I made this question in Blender.Today last week. Blender.Today, if you didn't know, Blender.Today is the YouTube channel youtube.com/Blender.Today is the Spanish version of Blender.Today. If, in case you didn't know, if you have any friend that speaks Spanish or Italiano or Portuguese, maybe you can follow along. Are there any thoughts or discussions regarding the use of artificial intelligence or neural networks for Blender? I think it would be extremely useful for rendering and other complex tasks like motion capture or even recreating a scene in Blender. Do you think this would be an endeavor worthy of a code quest or something like that? I think for AI neural networks, there has to be someone that is already familiar with it, and you can just plug it in and hope it works, I think, right? I'm not completely familiar with it. I'm really not familiar with it, but I think you can just, it sounds exciting to say, okay, just add some AI to it, and it has to be thought through, and it has to be compatible, and it has to work. But it would be nice if the rest of Blender would learn about it, right? Like about the settings that I'm using, for example. Maybe you could learn from that, or the render size that I always use, the render samples, or the anything. You could learn from so many things that it's would be nice if if we would get like a help from the community that are already familiar with it. So, all right, let's see. I want to listen to some music. Do you listen to music, by the way? Do you hear it? Or I have it too low? My ears were cold. All right. Next question. Frostcrack Studio asks, here's what I don't like about the new Blender. No render buttons. No way to see inverted faces by default. No way to see Okay, no render buttons. There is a render in the menu, and as I said, buttons is too low. Okay, I can raise it if you want. The rule is to not have operators in the properties section. I wouldn't think it would harm, but yeah, F12 is a known hotkey since forever. No way to see inverted faces by default. That has been asked in the past, but I haven't seen any thread on DevTalk like there are people pushing for it. It's usually the same few people asking for it. And there were more issues. It usually brought more questions than it solved. No way to see double vertices. Was it possible in 2.7? No way to use your keyboard on the save pop-up. That wasn't possible in 2.7 either. Why did you remove the render button? I already mentioned baggy keys to use the render tool. When the buttons were 100% better and faster to learn. The only thing that I love in the new version is the grease pencil. The tool is great. Why can't we get an easy to customize the software? It is. I mean, what is easier than open source, right? I mean, it's hard to make it so flexible to please everyone. Yeah, it's hard. It takes effort from the developers. I think they did a huge effort in 2.8 for the keymaps sectional keymaps area. For example, the keymaps now in 2.8 they are in Python as opposed to how they were in 2. Like the official keymap, the built-in keymaps, as opposed to how they were in 2.7. There are many, like with the tool settings, for example, or with the add-on system. There has been efforts in improving and making it more customizable, but if there is no enough developer power, then yeah, it's hard. Can we get a tool to make this? This web page converts this GIF to a JPEG. Why? Because GIFs are not supported. If you could link to it, then would be great. I think this page is, yeah. Yeah, you need to paste the link, sorry. Husham asks, hi Pablo. Python is easy, yes. Thank you for all the nice. Looks like a boomer, they changed stuff. I don't like change. It's okay. I mean, it's okay to not like change. It's for when we switched from 2.4 to 2.5, I was working already at the Blender Institute here, but I was against the change. I wanted my 2.4. I like my horizontal buttons, but you just get used to it. You know, like some things are for better and some things take time to get fixed. And you know that everybody working on the software is doing it out of passion. They do it because they want it to improve and to get better. So you understand over time. Husham79 asks, hey Pablo, is it possible to make rearranging the list of modifiers or other lists by using the mouse drag and drop instead of these small arrows? That has been brought up so many times that apparently I bet that it's not easy. I say I bet because this question has been brought up so many times, not only here, but before in Blender 2.6, 7, 5, even like so long ago. And I know developers, and I know that when they read something like that online, maybe they will go and try and look at the code and just try to change it. But sometimes the code is so convoluted, or it's just so hard to keep track of where things are, that's one of the reasons why it hasn't been made. One of the reasons. And another reason also is that the modifiers stack, at least for the modifiers, is gonna get a overhaul actually with the Everything Nodes project. So maybe the UI wouldn't be needed anymore. The best example that I like to rewrite this part is to convert the armatures into UI list components, just like vertex groups. And if this would be draggable, that would be amazing. I think we should make this one draggable. and then the modifiers should look like this. So when you select a modifier, it could show it. There was an add-on, actually, somebody was developing it, but it didn't get really far. All right. Second question, how to select multiple objects in sculpt mode when left mouse button is chosen for selection. Let's see. So there is a way to do it, actually. Last time I checked, so for example, I have this object and I'm going to be having 3 objects. So there are 3 different objects and you're asking how to switch. If you have, when you are in sculpt mode, when you're sculpting, you can do Alt click on other objects and then you should be able to change between the objects. Thing is that it works with lock object modes off. So if you do Alt click, it will select them. But the thing is that once you're in there, so Alt click, and then I go to sculpt mode, I notice that sometimes it gets me out of edit mode and sometimes it doesn't. So I need to understand exactly why is that happening, because now if I lock, I can just sculpt here, Alt click on this one, and then Alt click on the last one, and I can switch. So there is something fishy going on here. So to answer your question, how do you change with Alt click? And then you can change it. But I think there is something funny going on with this option, the edit lock, the lock object modes, which locks you in whatever object mode you are, so you can work on that one object and without accidentally leaving the object you're working on by clicking on other objects. So yeah, it works, but there's something going on. I have to dig into it. If you guys could help me figure out what's going on, why is the issue, that would be amazing. And if you could report it, that would be great. It will save a lot of time. That's it. All right. I think we were able to do that with the right mouse button. Yes. Next question by Babar. Wasn't there a cartoon, a French cartoon, right? Babar, the elephants. Dear Pablo, how can I change the Blender toolbar icons? I don't know how to generate the appropriate .dat files. I would like to retrieve the way icons. Yes. So where do I have here? So for example, here I have the Blender source. Here, Blender source. Inside of the Blender source, if you want to change the icons, you have to recreate them from the SVG file, from the vector files. So in release data files, there is a Blender Icons Svg, which if you are familiar with it, if you open it with Inkscape, this file is huge, by the way. It's 2 megabytes, but it has a lot of details. So just to show you, I think in the document properties, I can change the background to be, checkerboard. So basically, these are all the icons in Blender. And if you want to change them and reconvert them into .dat files, you have to run a script, which is the Blender Icons update. This will make the .dat files from those. If you open it in a text editor, you'll see that the scripts updates icons from the SVG file. So that should be it, I think. And then it should be updated there. If you click around, you will find there is many, like brush icons, for example. You will find all the thumbnails are there. So you can really customize it and make it your own. But you have to compile for that. Next question. Yegor Smirnov. Hola. Why Ctrl-G is still presented? Well, it creates hidden non-obvious collections. Good question. Good question. Ctrl-G, I think it's mainly a leftover. I mean, we should try and tackle it, because I also don't like how it works. Basically, when you do Ctrl-G in 2.7, it will create a group of the objects you have selected. In 2.8, groups are now collections. So the shortcut's still there. It will create a collection. By, for example, if I select the monkey here and I press Ctrl-G, it actually created a collection, but it's not linked to this scene. Also, it added this object to the collection. So you can see here that the monkey now has 2 users. Suzanne has 2 users because one user is the collection, I believe. Where is my collection? Well, it's in the, if you look, for example, in the outliner under Blender file, you should see the collection that was created. So the shortcut is doing its thing. It's just that it's not really linking the collection. We're missing that step. That is not linking the collection to the scene. So what should we do? Should we just remove Ctrl G? Maybe not. Or shall we just maybe when hitting that shortcut also link the collection to the scene? Maybe. Should you also remove Suzanne from the active collection? Maybe not. So I don't know. Maybe we should just get rid of it, of the shortcut, and encourage people to use the easier to understand M key, which is for moving to a collection. Because adding Ctrl G is basically the same as doing move to a new collection, which already lets you name it. So in that regard, I think I like more the M key. Shall we just get rid of it? Let me know what you think. Ctrl G, we get rid of it, and then we have more room for activities, for shortcuts. Let's see. JerseyGorksy.art. Hi Pablo, what is happening upstairs? Upstairs, he means by the Blender studio. Here I'm in the Blender headquarters, in the bottom floor where developers, where Francesco is also here, and when the training is, and Ton is, and all the rest of the people are. Basically upstairs is the art team. So since Spring Move is finished, there are no news on what the artists are doing, and we miss it. Did you know? Is there any hidden secret project hidden for the public? Yes and no. So there has been the people upstairs are not just chilling. They are actually pretty hard at work with the Spring tutorials. So basically there is, for example, on Tuesday, this tutorial was added. Is a breakdown of the trees, all the trees in Spring Open Movie, for example. There are so many trees, and look at the organization. The OCD is strong in this one. So the trees in Spring, they're one of the best examples of the new collection system, because you can see the nesting, and having this in 2.7 would have been impossible, or a nightmare basically. So there has been tutorials being making just to answer your questions. There is the plant files, for example. You've seen the growing plants on Spring. There is also this tutorial actually,
if we needed them, but
voiceover basically by our boy Julian Kasper. So you can see the explanation of how everything is done, how the animation was done, also how the materials were done in this tutorial of roughly half an hour. Then there is a whole training dedicated for animation, the animation basics, how to get started into how to set up your scene for animation. And there is training, and there is a walkthrough about the lighting and the effects that was done in last month, about the lighting of one of the shots of the film at the beginning. So yeah, the people upstairs have not been just slacking. They're actually been really hard at work, and they're preparing. I'm not sure if I should announce it already, but I will tease it. Basically, it's a new character for the character library, and it's a character creation pipeline from scratch. It's an stylized human, and it's just looking amazing. And every step of the process, from the character design, which usually that part is left aside, right? Usually it's like, okay, let's model, and you start modeling, all the creation, all the concept and the design of the character is also covered in this new tutorial that's coming up. It also, the rigging part is it will be fully rigged so people can use it for making animations, which is something that we're lacking sometimes in the community, right? Like ready to use characters, but like high quality characters. Sinog asks, hi Pablo, one question might be a bit dumb. No, there's no dumb questions. Are the wireframes in the UV editor overlays like the ones in the 3D view? Is it possible to add an option slider to control their opacity, same as for distortion? No, there is currently, it shouldn't use the same colors. I think they have their own colors in the UV image editor theme settings. But is it option to add an option to? Is it possible to add an option slider to control their opacity? There is no option right now, but yes, it's a good suggestion. So maybe you can comment it on right-click select for getting people feedback, and then it could be asked to the developers. Next question, PK Go says, what's up, Pablo? You guys changed the scale tool by adding that big ring, which is annoying. It causes problems when you try to scale along one axis. Please revert it back to normal, at least until you guys find a more simpler and elegant solution. What is the issue? Is the here? Okay, besides having my gigantic gizmo size here, there you go. So this one basically, you guys changed the scale tool by the scale tool, I was in the wrong. So it's ick. What kind of scale is this? Yeah, ick. Yeah, this is annoying. I see what you mean. Yeah, it's not helping much. We should try and find a better solution for this. I see what you mean. I haven't noticed the issue. Scorcho, hi Pablo. Why can't I export edge creases for ZBrush dynamic subdips through FBX? Maya and Modo can do this. Why can I export edge creases? Maybe it should be possible. I haven't tried. I'm not familiar with exporting FBX a lot, but I know there are studios and companies interested in this, and that's one of the good stuff of being able by studios and companies to support Blender development is that they can hire developers basically to have these kind of things fixed. So I bet it should be fixed eventually. And yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that. Is everything okay over here? All right, Maizam Hosaini asks, hi Pablo, thank you for the loving show. Thank you for watching it. Any news from interactive system instead of Blender game engine? No. Unfortunately, there are no news regarding the Blender interactive mode. That was it's a promising project, and I think we're gonna see more traction when the Everything Nodes project moves forward. For if you follow the functions branch in Blender, and if you follow, for example, in developer the Blender.org, like for example, any branch. So let's see, Blender. Oh, I'm running out of battery on my. So for example, if you see the history of the functions branch, for example, you're gonna see that there's changes all the time. This is a merge, but you can see all the changes from Jack Luke. It's insane, all the work that he's doing. And this is gonna be part of the new particle system, for example. Is gonna use it, the new modifier nodes, everything nodes. It's for real. Everything nodes, when you say everything, should be everything. So follow the branch, the functions branch. There's hard to show exactly what's going on, but I will try and get him to make a demo at some point if there is something to see, because a lot of work it has to go under the hood, right? For everything nodes, a lot of work has to go under the hood to like the most basic function nodes. Let's move on. Oh, but on the other hand, there is options to the Blender game engine, and I learned about the Arsenal game engine, Blender Arsenal game engine, which is, for example, like Armory 3D, which one you probably are familiar with it, with Armory. Is one of the most popular alternatives to the Blender game engine. There is also, well, Godot, of course, but this one, for example, I learned about it the other day about Arsenal. It's a Blender integrated game engine written in Rust, and you can even try it already. Ah, that's interesting. You can download it already. I haven't tried that. But they mention why they're implementing, why they're going for it instead of using Armory. Apparently, Armory has some limitations regarding large games. I'm not sure. I can't say. I haven't used it yet, but Arsenal will come with a logic node system. That is pretty promising. All right, let's see. More questions. Okay, I'm gonna try and get it faster because I'm a bit slow today. Is it possible to import an image and use it as a vertex color map? Not that I know, but it must be an add-on for it. Actually, maybe using clone. I'm not sure. Sorry, can't think of the top of my head. Character Hero asks, "Hello, Pablo. Will the vertex paint be updated as well as texture paint?" Yes, as part. Yes and no. I mean, it's like in 2.8 or in the future. I think many of the improvements that Pablo Navarro is doing in the Sculpt branch can be part of the brush system, which affects vertex paint, texture paint, and all the other paints, including the Sculpt paint mode. Is a fracture modifier going to be added in Blender 2.80? No, Blender 2.80 is coming out on Thursday, the release candidate, so no. Matthew Parsons, can you tell us anything about the biggest focus will be for 2.81? 2.80 has already changed, improved so many things. I know, right? 2.80 is all over the place. So 281, 2.81, improve the Sculpt feature, move some of those features into the actual 2.81 branch. Maybe not everything if they need like a deep change in the way meshes work, but there will be a window of at least 1 month, maybe 3 weeks, depends, where developers can put all the changes they can, and there will be a 2-month maybe window for fixing issues. So what will be the biggest focus? It's hard to see, besides the Sculpt mode, overrides, asset management, hopefully. But I think the biggest focus will be just try to handle the loads and loads of fixes that 2.80 is gonna bring, like the reports that 2.80 is gonna bring. Hola, Capitán Pablo. Notes ask, why in shader editor control right click cut links doesn't work anymore? If it's a bug, please report it. Please. Hey Pablo, according to Svg Geek, Blender currently is coded mainly to take advantage of single core processors. Will there be improvements to the code for multi-core like in Sims? Sims? Simulations. I thought the video game. Hair, cloth, and water animation playback. There, yes and no. I mean, it's not like Blender is coded for single core. Is that coding for multi-threaded is not just like pressing flicking a switch, right? It's there are some areas of Blender that are gonna benefit of multi-threaded now with the new code dependency graph. For example, there's also the OpenSubdiv, the newer version of OpenSubdiv for subdivisions that also supports multi-threading, so that can be included. Then regarding simulations, well, we have MantaFlow. Regarding I don't know, there are many areas that can be changed and can be improved for that. Cycles is really good at scaling up, even to like, so you can render with 60 cores and it's gonna use gonna make good use of it. Eevee node, on the other hand, Eevee needs Vulkan backend for that, for multi-threading. So there are areas that you can, some areas you can't for the time being. Googly Coffee Mate asks, will there be some kind of updater for Windows so that I don't have to reinstall Blender whenever there is a new update? Yes, it's called Steam. Also, can I edit through the Blender sequencer viewport? No, you can't. It would be way too much work. Too much overhead. Imagine if you have a scene and then you can just click around and load all your hundreds of textures there, and then you move to another scene and another hundreds of... It will be super slow. So maybe there could be a subset of changes, maybe the camera panning, but not changing the actual data. But yeah, it sounds like could be hard for the memory. Oh yeah, and the updated for Windows. Well, Blender, it's available on the Blender Windows Store. So I don't know how how the Windows stores works exactly, but you should be able to update, I think, right? It looks like it. Otherwise, why having a store at all? So yes, this Blender in the Windows Store is official. We upload this thing. So we went through the hassle of uploading all of this stuff together with Francesco. And also Steam. Steam is used for video games mainly, but Blender is available on Steam. If you go to the download page, you can find it on Steam here, and it will send you to where you can see it. Whoa. The great thing about Steam is that you can show how many hours you've been using the app, using Blender. So that's pretty insane. And they also have the beta program that if you join, you should be able to get the Blender 2.80 release candidate. Hi Pablo, is this the way the variable modifier is supposed to work? Is an error in the manual. I can't read it right now. I'm still way behind. I spent too much time, sorry. But I will keep this open here. You can always ask the community for that, or just report the bug. The safest thing, just report the bug. Bintang Yen asks, I wonder how did you build lighting file for all the Blender open movies? If we are doing a couple of shots, probably we can set it manually each shot. But if you're doing hundreds of shots, like doing for animation series, it will be a nightmare. Linking or just appending light groups, or collections in this case of Blender 2.7. But you can read more about it in the cloud. There is this lighting walkthrough where you can read about it. But yeah, basically the lighting scene, it's linking all the sets and everything, and the lights are local, but the lights also can be appended to other shots or linked even, so that way you have a consistent lighting. You don't have to have all data in one file. Bedrosian asks, hey Pablo, will Blender sequencer have multi-core support in the near future? Near future, there will be work in the sequencer. Multi-core is like performance is one of the biggest bottlenecks in the sequencer, and the topic that is being worked on now by an actual developer full-time working on the sequencer. So yes, you see, showing the Blender Development Fund helps. John Becker says, will animation nodes or the everything node system allow us to export meshes created procedurally from nodes? It's too early to... first guess would be yes, because you should be able to export caches, for example, and yes, but it's too early to know the details about it. Ronald asks, hi Pablo, thank you for your great work. Thank you. Quick question, would it make sense to include the copy-paste commands under the edit menu? They are there. In edit, there is copy... Oh no, they're not there for copying the object. They're in the right-click copy objects. Yeah, what would it be? Copy the thing is that, yeah, it could be copy object, copy what? A good point, actually. I think at some point they were there and they were removed, because it's hard to know the context or hard to know which object is there or where it's going to be pasted, I think. Let's move on. another question, 2 questions, if that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. We have 1 minute left, but I started late, so let's make room for it. Will we see only render from 279 come back sometime? I miss pressing a button that hides objects that won't actually show in the render. Good question, actually. There is the hide overlays, but there's no only render to show the objects that are only going to be rendered. But if you go to the render preview, you should see only the objects that are available for, right? For example, for rendering. No, it's not there. Good. Did we miss that point completely? I will get back to you on that. Thank you for noticing it. Second question. Dynamic Paint's weight painting doesn't seem to be working correctly. You cannot see the weights you painted. There is no preview. Are there any plans to address it? Yes, there are plans, and people has been asking for it, and I'm not sure about the status. I'm going to ask the developer working on it, but it's a priority. I know you can basically see that. So yes, at the moment. Next question. Hi, Mr. Pablo. Is there any improvements already about the 15 second freeze on Blender in Eevee mode? It happens even in easy tasks, just as changing the values or moving nodes position in easy scenes. That shouldn't happen, actually. I mean, the UI is going to freeze if you're changing values and Eevee is updating, but just by moving a node's position, that shouldn't happen. So please report it. Maybe it's an issue with a specific graphics card. Next question. Blender 2.8 is super awesome. Grease Pencil is dope. Yes, I agree with that. Live update of frame offset via controller has increased the workflow efficiency. I do have a question though. I am trying to control the visibility of Grease Pencil using a driver via the distance between 2 objects. Going advanced. It is working on the Layers tab and in Render, but it's not working in Viewport. Does not get updated in the Viewport. I hope this gets fixed. Sounds like it's just a missing update for the Viewport, so please, because when you're rendering, there are other kinds of updates going on in the, like, you know, when you render, sometimes you try to update everything as much as possible. When you're in the viewport, you don't want everything to update the viewport, otherwise it could be too slow. So my first guess is that you should report this, please. Both things, this and the mouse pointer. So please report it, because it may be just an update missing. Blender, you're gonna find a lot of those. Many has been fixed, like most of them have been fixed, but if you see that changing something in one area doesn't update it in the other, especially in the viewport, report it, because the new dependency graph is what is causing this kind of missing updates. So it has many things, many great things about the new dependency graph, but the fact that every action had to be tagged for update, or most of the actions have it tagged for update, is what makes it that some of them are missing. Next question. Hola Pablo, could there be a tab like modeling and layouts for only planning? I'm an architect and my workflow is starting with AutoCAD, then exporting to Blender, but Blender could really be used for planning by adding commands like offset, extensions. Yes, this is a mix of the snapping tools or the new precision modeling, but also some new, more dedicated to CAD tools, which are not there yet. I think we should totally consider it when we first planned the workspace in Blender 2.7 and 2.7, Blender 2.8. The plan was that you could add, like the system allows it, that you can add a new workspace that is not actually anywhere yet. So this means that we can have workspaces for things like 3D printing or architecture. So the system supports it. We just need to add those. It takes time, actually, for making these workspaces. We actually made a call for content for the community, and the community is the ones that provided these changes, these layouts. So we should make another one maybe in 2.81 to once everything is settled, to include more of these more task-specific workspaces. Next question, and last one. Hey Pablo, Blender seems to be crashing when the object with surface modifier. Is it considered to be for fixing? Yes, every crash is considered to be fixed. There is no crash that it will say like, okay, let's let it crash, and that shouldn't happen. Blender shouldn't crash. So please, please go and report it, and if you can reproduce it somehow, please go and report it so we can fix it. And please do it before Thursday so we can get it in the release candidate. Are there more questions? 32. Oh, twice as many questions. Insane. Okay, I'm gonna go to the end, which are the first ones that were added. Full holdout and transparent shader support in Eevee. Transparent shader, that should work actually. Just enable transparency or the film transparency. I'm so excited about release candidate. I am too. I noticed that the X mirror symmetry is not existent in the tools panels when editing Bezier curves. It's not a feature request, it's a bug. So then, as such, please report it. Go to the menu, help menu, report the bug. And 5 minutes passed. Let's do 5 more questions, and then we are over. Just a few more. All right. Any hope displacement map is fixed by release candidate and not behave as a normal map anymore? Please, if it's a bug, report it. If it's reported already, then let's get your fingers crossed. The developers go through all of the bugs and they mark them in priority levels, and high priorities are the ones that are going to make it, especially crashes. But remember, the release candidate is not the end. There will be at least another week for fixing stuff. Next question. The viewport freezes when in look dev mode. Time to time in 2.8. Takes about 10 seconds. It never happened in 2.7. Well, 2.7 didn't have a look dev mode. And 2.8 has a completely different use of your graphics card, if you want to call it in a way. So please report the bug. Go here. It's very important that you do this, that you go to help, report the bug, because this will open the browser with some information about your graphics card and your operating system and the Blender version that you're using. So it means that developers, that you don't have to fill in all those fields for you, and it's easier for the developers to spot what's going wrong. Number 4, question number 4. Hi Pablo, is this text upside down? I think context goes down and object goes up. No, actually it's not, because what is on top is a description of the menu. In this case is the context. So these are all contexts, right? And the name of the context, the value of that input is like a drop down. For example, a drop down. If you have a drop down, you will see that it says just the description, but sometimes you will have it to say like the option. Now in this case it always says this value, but you get the point. The name of the menu is called context and the value is object in this case. Number 3, will we get special stream dedicated to RC1? You know, with a bloody giant ticking clock with a countdown? No, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be flying during the release candidate 1. And it's funny because I also was flying during the release of the beta last year. I was flying to Spain both times. What are the odds? So yeah, I'm going to Spain because I'm going to be giving a presentation together with 2 animators at the Mundos Digitales conference in A Coruña in España. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be showing off 2.8, and we can tell people to like, hey guys, download it from Blender.Org. Question number 2. Will a modifier be added to remove doubles? Should be very simple to do with the modifier nodes. Once modifier nodes are done, I think it should be pretty simple to do it. So I would say yes, but not in the way we know modifiers as of now. Doesn't make sense to add new modifiers like these ones that are basic mesh operations when we're gonna get modifier nodes. You should show the fantastic blueprints gift by Pablo Vazquez for those who haven't seen it. Yes, if you haven't seen it, which is pretty common if you are, how is it? Pablo DP606. Pablo Vazquez has a very active Twitter account where he's posting his improvements on everywhere. So from sculpting to features like this one, for example, the blueprint feature, which allows you to have a plane, draw the shape of whatever cube you want to add, and then just move it around. So it's very easy to create, to prototype, and this concept added to mix it with the snapping tools is just gonna be insane. And I know they have been working together. Actually, they've been, I've seen them chatting about the oh, it's available in the Sculpt branch now. Awesome. So you can actually try it in the graphical.org website. Bam. So you can actually just try it already, and it's built in Blender. It's not an add-on. It's insane. Sculpt mode branch here, this one, 40 minutes ago, and this change was done 2 hours ago. So yes, it's actually in there. Ooh, nice. Go play with it. And Pablo is going to be, I already mentioned, but yeah, he's going to be hanging out at the Blender Institute soon. Animation Studio. All right. I think I'm over. It's over 10 minutes past. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer all of the questions. I think I tackled all of the ones that have votes and the ones at the bottom. So I hope I did it right this time. Sorry if I didn't answer yours, but it's been so many things going on, right? How are you guys doing there in the chat? Is everything okay? Game Engines once discontinued, yes. Will 2.8 be on Steam? Yes. Flying to Spain means there is an RC in the way, yes. What about the game engine? Google SketchUp is dead? No, it's not. Different purposes. All right, so it's done. This is the last live stream before the release candidate. Hopefully we're gonna get a new splash screen. What would you like to see as a splash screen? I think it would be good to have maybe something Spring related, because Spring was a project that pushed Blender 2.80 from when there was no modifiers to like we were using it and pushing it, and the whole team upstairs using it and crying about it the whole year basically. So yes, I think it deserves it. So I'm still using Pop OS. Yeah, I'm still using at home. I'm using Pop OS. Here at the studio, I'm using Ubuntu 18.10, 18.04, I think. All right, geez, look at my face. I'm exhausted. I have to go back to Blender to fix the Blender website to make the release candidate the best thing ever. But to make it the best thing ever, let's have it bug free. Please report any bug that you can find. Inside of Blender, go to help menu, report the bug, and make it clear, make it easy for the developers to like describe the issue, maybe show a video, maybe a small blend file, easy to understand. So let's have a clear and a clean release. Because, you know, Blender, it's really made by you. It's made by the community. Maybe we have an army of people that are reporting bugs and even fixing them by people from the community. So it's really, really a community effort, and it's about to become true in a matter of days. So let's show the world that we have a nice rock stable software, 2D and 3D and so many Ds. Thank you for watching. If you're wearing headphones, watch out, because I'm gonna change the pace of the music to something a bit more uplifting, because there is a reason to celebrate. So in 5, 4, 3. I should do a like a cosplay of Gile at some point. Maybe for the conference. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week with the release candidate. Ciao. Next time, same place, same time.